Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Littlefellas Sports Podcast. And as you can see, we are here with Shreyas, Sukin, and Krishna to discuss about the Premier League and the happenings of the last few days in the Premier League, and also obviously a very massive week in terms of fixtures and what's coming up in the upcoming week. So, first of all, welcome to the show, guys. Shreyas, Krishna, and Sukin.
Hi guys.
Hi guys.
Hi everyone.
Okay, guys. So basically, so obviously, first things first, I'll go start with Shreyas. Shreyas, so it's obviously been a weird week in terms. We've obviously had the FA Cup. The FA Cup weekends ongoing. Of course, there are a few teams who are still yet to play. A few teams have played on Friday and Saturday, and we had a midweek round of fixtures also last week. So, first things first, Shreyas. What do you make of what do you make of the last couple of weeks since we last discussed about the Premier League? I think in terms of different clubs, they play different games, obviously. So, what do you make of the last few days and how you see it going forward, also?
Yeah, so certainly it has shaped up to be an exciting title race, at least for if you look at the Premier League. Man United have had a fair share of favorable results, you can say. They should have won against Leicester. I think the last time we did a video, Man United Leicester game, it didn't happen, right? I mean, so that game, I personally feel that we should have won, but we got two favorable results against Wolves and Aston Villa. So in that case, it's good to be at least now. It's good to be joint up with Liverpool, and of course we have one game in hand, and we should go. We should see how it goes. Regarding the other teams are concerned, I mean, it's been a bit waver, right? I mean, even Hari came on the show, and we were practically cornering him every time. But Arsenal, they have performed really well, and looks like they have found their mojo, and they are on a good run as of now. I know yesterday it went to extra time for them, but still, they played really well in the past three games, and of course, City also, if you look into how they did, I think they are on course to win the Premier League, if you ask me, because they are really solid, and even without some of their main players, they performed really well. And yeah, I think Chelsea, Krishna can talk about that. I don't think we need to talk anything about that. It's been a worrisome period for them. So over to you, Krishna.
So yeah, before that, so obviously, as you said, a few things have changed since last time we spoke. I think we spoke around 2 weeks back. I think that was the last time we spoke, and there was because it's been a festive period. You have a lot of games in a short number of periods. So either you gain a lot of momentum or you lose a lot of momentum. So we've had Arsenal, for example, who are basically on the brink of a relegation battle now, comfortably mid-table, and looking forward to the next few games because they still have a couple of pretty favorable games, and they'll be hopeful that they can continue their positive run. And as you see, someone like Chelsea, I mean, they had some level of momentum from the last time we spoke, but then right now they're really in the doldrums. And if very reliable reports are to be believed, Frank Lampard is under massive pressure. And if anything, it seems more of if rather than, I mean, more of when rather than if when it comes to whether Frank Lampard may or may not get the boot. So we'll go to Krishna, obviously the Chelsea fan in the house. Krishna, what do you make of the Premier League in general? We'll obviously discuss about each club separately as we go on in the show, but just in the last couple of weeks, what do you make of the Premier League in general? Because it's been the festive period and a lot of games have happened in this period.
To be very honest, it's been a very topsy-turvy week at the Premier League. A lot of results going the other way, many upsets as well. I think all in all, if I have to talk about Chelsea's performance, it's been it's been very depressing, to be honest, because before the Everton game, we were well set to kind of create a gap with the top three. Because if you look at the teams that we faced, all of them are actually in contention, and they were going to challenge the top four. And if we had won those games, and we could have created a bridge between the top three and the rest. So now that opportunity has been squandered. Last 5 games, I think we've picked up probably 4 points with a win at West Ham and with a win against West Ham and a draw against Aston Villa. I think more than the results, it's been the way in which we've lost. The Wolves game was a tantalizing last-minute winner from Pedro Neto. Against City, I think we were actually clueless. We have the defense that has actually been very sturdy all throughout the season so far. It has not stood up in the last 5 games, and I think the flair that Chelsea had at the start of the season, the attacking runs, the creativity, I think all that has just vanished ever since the Everton loss. So I think this particular poor run is actually an aggregate of all what has happened at Chelsea Football Club. We've had our key players missing out for quite a number of games, and this has meant that second choice players have had to come in, and basically they've not had any game time. So that has led to a lack of creativity, balls going forward. But I think a lot of players are also playing out of position. They just don't know. There's just everyone seems to be jaded at the club, and the fact that we haven't turned it quickly enough and we've let the rot continue for 5 games, that itself is a clear show that all is not well at Chelsea Football Club. As you said, yes, uh, Frank Lampard, uh, he was given the backing by the board. They got all the players that he wanted. But apart from that, I think whether Frank Lampard has played the right people at the right positions is a big question, as Daya just told in the comments about Werner playing as CF. So I think this particular rot, I'm not sure it's going to end so quickly as well. We do have some easy games coming up, but more than winning those easy games, it is important that the players who are coming back also get into a good run of form, because going into January, it is important that we go back into the top 6. I just saw the points table. We are probably a couple of wins away from going back into the top 6. I think that should be the first goal, because we have a couple of easy games coming up. Should look to win that, and hopefully, if Frank Lampard wins that, he'll probably get the confidence back. And I think we have still not reached a point where he's lost the dressing room. I think when that happens, I think Frank Lampard will be shown the door. At the moment, I think he's got the players and the dressing room behind him. As long as that is there, Frank Lampard is sure to stay.
I mean, so considering that we started off with Chelsea, so we just continue with Chelsea then. So Sukin, obviously I know that you've enjoyed the last couple of weeks in terms of Chelsea having a downfall and United doing not too badly recently. But what do you think has really gone wrong recently for Chelsea? What would you point to as, okay, this is one of the reasons why things haven't gone right? Because it's not just 1 or 2 losses. They lost to Everton, they lost to Wolves, they lost to Arsenal, and Arsenal side who at that point were absolutely down on their knees. I mean, we remember all the banter that Kripakaran gave to Hari, the Arsenal fan, and it was quite funny from a neutral perspective, but we all know what happened in that game, and then they got absolutely slapped by City. If anything, 3-1 was flattering to Chelsea. It could have been much more that day.
Yeah.
So what do you think has recently gone wrong for Lampard? And he's obviously under serious pressure right now. I mean, even the game today, which is happening, obviously it's not going to define his future or anything, but it's still, you've got a lot of pressure heading into today's game also. So what do you think has gone recently what you gone wrong recently for Chelsea, and how do you see it turning around in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I would like to highlight upon the signings they made and how they fitted in the Chelsea side. So Havertz, he has been affected by COVID, and after that he hasn't been available to start any of the games. He isn't pretty much nailed on this side. And then after that, the defending signings they made, Chilwell, Mendy, they had their journey of having a good number of games during the initial games, till the 10th game week. They had they were keeping clean sheets like anything. So after that, injury came for Reece James, and Chilwell had an injury. So this actually ruined that momentum. Even ZH came and played in his first game well, and after that he was injured, and then he went. So Timo Werner was the only one who was who has been playing for a long time, and even him, I think he lacks the quality to play as a single striker for a top club like Chelsea. So he can play as a second striker, or he can play alongside Giroud or Tammy Abraham. So even Frank trying to fit them two together, he has found it very difficult for it. So what I would say is, buying all the 6 players for 250 million and then allowing everyone to just put them on the paper and then let them play, it will work out for a certain period of time. But after that, teams will find it out, and then it will be once they find out, it will be difficult, and then the quality of the manager shows. I think if Pep Guardiola's or Klopp could have been, or even I would say Arteta was the manager for Chelsea, maybe this run of poor run wouldn't have continued for more than 5 games. But it continuing for 5 games, and I think this break, like 1 week without any serious PL games, might help Frank Lampard and even Chelsea team to get back on their feet and then come again with their full energy. Because if Chelsea are now in the position where Arsenal were in during the start of December, when they were like when they were losing to, like, if you let them play Crystal Palace and Newcastle, then there was a fair chance of them losing it 2-0 or like losing it. But right now, when Arsenal they are back up, and then everyone are praising Martinelli, Tierney, like those players played at the same. Tierney was playing at the same level even before that period, even before the Chelsea game. But after beating Chelsea, now the entire confidence of the team, entire confidence of the manager has risen up. So Chelsea are in the same position right now. So I think if Frank can, if the squad, like they have got good players, quality players, if they can stick together and without injury, if they can play consistently well for next 2-3 weeks, then they can be back on their feet. Otherwise, if the dire side of form continues, then there will be changes in the 11, and after that, even then, eventually, Frank Lampard will be sacked. I don't think Roman will. If he loses next 3 out of 5 games, I don't think Roman will stick with them. Maybe they will hire an interim manager and then see out the season. There is no point in keeping the manager when you think when you know nothing is changed.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I actually disagree with Sukin and even Ashwin here, because I think Frank Lampard, he has the capability to be a good manager. He did do well last season without any of big name signings. So it was impressive. I mean, you can see by watching Chelsea, right? They play good football and they create a lot of chances. So I think there's some question with morale or something, and I feel he's not playing the right players, and it takes time to for the new signings to adapt. So he has been clearly maintaining his stance even before the start of the Premier League. That he openly said in few games. Many people think that we are title challengers. We are not yet. I mean, he didn't say it that openly, but it's evident from his press conferences and interviews that he gave to the media that people perceive it in the wrong way because of the 200 million signings that or 7 or 8 signings that they brought in. So I mean, he knows that it takes time to adapt for everyone. Obviously, they've had a good run, and I feel that there's some question of morale that is bringing them down right now. So if he continues to play the players that he played last season, I think he will be in a decent position, of course. But let's wait and watch. But I don't feel that he should be sacked right now. I mean, he has done well in the last season. They should at least give till the end of the season. And I mean, mostly everyone, what they think is they actually came to a conclusion that because of the 7 or 8 signings, Chelsea can win the Premier League. Even some of the Chelsea fans that we interact with, they came to that conclusion. Same goes for United too. So I think both are nearly on the same level, but we kind of have a more settled side. So yeah, I disagree with you, Ashwin.
Yeah, so the thing is, I think
he did well with what he had to finish top 4. That I think we have to give it to Frank Lampard. I mean, have some patience, no? I mean, you can't just sack the manager and move on with someone. He has did well for one season, and even 1 month back, they are on top of the table. So I seriously think that this is only a problem of morale of the players and out of form, you can say. So I don't think he will be sacked, and he will surely finish at least in the top 6 this year.
Okay,
I mean,
let me
I think
ask you.
one second.
Let
Let
me
me just
ask
finish.
you. Yeah, okay.
So the thing is, I disagree in terms of finish top 6. Chelsea spent 250, circa 250 million, bought 8 players. Expected. I know you can't immediately translate that into success, and that's what I personally thought. Obviously, some Chelsea fans thought they could immediately go on and win the league. I didn't accept that. But the point is, I think with Chelsea, he's picking a group of players on the on more on reputation rather than actually fitting them into a system. I think he's trying to fit in all his big money signings and then trying to hope that it'll somehow work. I personally don't think he knows his best 11 yet. I'm not sure if he knows who to play where also. Because if you look at someone like Timo Werner, he is a guy who is played on the last line of the shoulder of the defender and generally a guy who runs in behind. He doesn't really hold up the ball. That's how he played for Leipzig. And someone like Kai Havertz was played in a free role as pretty much as a forward. Here, Kai Havertz is being played as a midfielder when he's not really a midfielder, and Timo Werner is being played around different positions. I personally feel Tammy Abraham is the best centre forward, as an out and out
Yeah,
centre
of
forward.
course.
But then they're trying to fit them all in, and it's just a mess at the moment for Chelsea. And as Daya says, for example, Callum Hudson-Odoi, I cannot believe that he's not getting opportunities because every time he goes on to play for them, he's been outstanding. I mean, he's someone I'd love to have at United, for example. But then obviously he's not been given a chance, and there is a question of whether Lampard really knows his best team, and I think that's the major issue. Whether Lampard goes on to be successful at Chelsea, I don't know. You can't really say at the moment, but with someone like Roman Abramovich, I don't think he'll be as patient as you say, Shreyas. I think, especially after the money he spent in a situation where there's been pandemic and obviously not many clubs have been able to spend the money. I think it's a pretty sticky situation for Lampard at the moment, and we just have to wait and see how things go. Krishna, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I'm concurring with Shreyas on the Lampard issue. I don't think an immediate sacking is needed because he's the same guy who finished top four with academy players last season. So you do not write off a manager who's done that. And he actually had a good start to the season. It's not like we've seen a steady decline like how Arsenal saw. Arsenal, of course, they've revived their form now, but preceding that revival, it was actually a steady decline. Week by week, it was actually getting bad. So here the decline seems to be a sharp one, and I think these kind of sharp declines can be handled if you just play the right people in the right position and try and boost the morale within your dressing room. I think at the moment the problem with Chelsea is more than physical; it's mental. And I think the other reason why this rot kept extending for five continuous games was we just didn't have any breathing space to reassess those losses. Everton came, and then Wolves came, and then West Ham came. It was kind of back to back to back. So in this scenario, I think there was just very limited turnaround time, and but that probably also um, had a catalytic effect on the poor run extending for 5 games. So I think it's a matter of time. You just have to take it one game at a time at this scenario. I think if we can win 2 to 3 games on the trot, we can probably say all is well at Cobham. So I think it's just a matter of 2 to 3 games. And I think once the team starts winning, you expect the morale to go up.
Yeah, I agree. I think with Chelsea, it's more of a bad run which has been extended for a slightly extended period. I think they'll hope that with a couple of slightly favorable fixtures coming up for them, I think they'll hope that they can immediately turn the form. And for someone like Lampard, he definitely needs that. So we've talked a lot about Chelsea right now. So we'll go on to another London club who had a pretty solid start to the season. I mean, they were in and around the top till the last couple of weeks. I mean, they had a couple of iffy results, but they obviously got a win against Leeds United last time around in the Premier League. So we'll be talking about Spurs now. So first, I'll start off with Sukin. So Sukin, what do you make about Spurs in the last few weeks? They had that very, you can say, a very distraughting loss against Liverpool because they lost in the last minute with a Firmino winner, and after that they also before that dropped points against Crystal Palace away from home. They got a good win against Leeds last time. I think they're on 29 points right now, 4 points off the top. So, what do you make of Spurs at the moment, and how do you see them doing in the next few weeks? I think this week they're supposed to play. I mean, they've got
Villa.
their FA Cup game this week, and then I think after that they got their game against Fulham also was postponed. So, what do you make of their run? And they've got a couple of tricky fixes because they play Aston Villa this week. We don't know if the game will go ahead, but at the moment, what do you make of Spurs?
Yeah, I think Spurs are playing Villa, and there's a chance that it might be also postponed. And after that, they start off with their Europa League fixtures also. So they already have a lot of postponed fixtures, and Europa League fixtures are coming up, and I think they will find it really difficult, because I don't think any, like, starting from 2 weeks from now and then till March end, I don't think they have any midweek free. So with the, I won't say it is a pretty much like it's a thick squad like City or even what Chelsea have. So they have a thin squad, and playing them all playing them all in these many fixtures would really tire them out. And then the mojo they found it with Kane and Son during the initial run of PL games. Uh, for it to continue, they need a lot of luck, because Son has been overperforming his XG for a longer period of time. Like for 2-3 months, he has been like outperforming his XG. This XG outperforming his XG is more than what he did for the last 2 seasons. So this amount of outperforming his XG, it will, you need a sheer amount of luck for it to continue. This combined with yeah, tight fixtures, I don't think Spurs will be, like, unless they have luck, and then maybe if they make some signings or something, I don't think they will survive like for the next 2 months. Even Mourinho was pretty sad about we don't want to postpone this Villa fixture, because because Euros will not be postponed. So till then it will be very tight. Already our fixtures are tight, so we don't want it to be postponed. That is what Mourinho also said. So I think they will find it very difficult, because due to the lack of the squad depth they have. Yeah, let's see. I think they will struggle to stay in the top four, since City, Liverpool, United, and then there's a chance of like Chelsea or Southampton gathering up the remaining spot. I think they will be very struggling to keep up in the top four.
Yeah, I think with Spurs, it was a very good start to the season. They had some really positive results, especially in the big games, and they managed to get through some of the smaller games as well. But I think with Spurs, it's going to be a tricky situation to manage the Europa League as well, because Mourinho will be desperate for that first trophy, and I'm sure that at some point he'll have to make a choice between going all out for the Europa League or trying to focus on the Premier League. So I think that also could be an issue for them. But I think next couple of weeks, if the Aston Villa game goes ahead, it's going to be a cracker of a game. I think it'll be a great game to watch personally. So obviously, but then from Spurs' perspective, they'll hope that they can maintain this positive run. I don't know if they are potentially going to challenge for the title, because it's only been 16, 17 games. You can't really say as of now. But then I think at the moment they are slightly off, and even one bad result could potentially mean that they are really not too much in the reckoning. So
but they're not having, right? But they're not getting those bad results. I mean, of course, they get it against the top teams, but they're fairly comfortably beating or at least getting a point versus
yeah,
the
I think
teams.
that's something also. If you draw,
so,
draw could be a negative result, right? So that's what I'm trying to say.
yeah.
If they, for example, play Aston Villa this week, if the game goes ahead and they lose to Aston Villa, I think they're in trouble, right? And they could potentially lose. Aston Villa are brilliant this season. So I'm just saying that it's a little bit of on the knife edge. Next few games are really crucial for them. They'll have to hope that they go on a winning run, and then come end of January, you can see what really is the situation with Tottenham.
Yeah.
So Krishna, coming over to you, what are your quick thoughts on Spurs, and how do you see their next couple of weeks going? I think they got a game against Villa. After that, they play Sheffield. So, and then obviously on 29th of January, end of this month, they play Liverpool at home. So how do you see the next couple of weeks going for Spurs?
I think Spurs at the moment, just like Daya mentioned in one of the previous comments, they seem to be Kane, Son, and Inshallah. But it's been their defense that's been, the standout so far this season. The wins that they had at the start of the season, which led to some belief that they could be challenging for the title. I think their defense is definitely worth recognition, especially Eric Dyer. I think Eric Dyer has probably been one of the top three centre backs this league, the way he's stood firm for Spurs. And apart from that, Kane and Son have had very good attacking returns. Both of them have contributed assists and goals. I think that has actually created chances for Spurs to control the game. If you look at Mourinho, he prefers to score first and control the game. That is his usual tactics. And I think Kane Son playing like this, linking up this well in the final third, I think it's allowed Mourinho to just play his usual tactics and get a couple of goals in. So this particular season has played right into Mourinho's hands. But at the moment, I think the burnout of Kane and Son is also to be questioned. They're literally starting every game at this rate, which I think is definitely not good. It's not healthy for Spurs because if one of them break down, I do not see Spurs having a chance to compete for top four. So I think apart from that, Spurs do have some easy fixtures coming up, which I think will help them to get that top three race going again. So in that sense, I think Spurs have had a really good season so far, and it's up to them to convert these easy matches and keep getting the points in. Luckily, they have a couple of games in hand, one being Fulham and the other being Aston Villa. So I think it's down to Spurs to just keep getting the points in and hope they can still beat some of the top six sides.
Yeah, I agree with your analysis on Spurs. I think they just hope that they can be within touching distance. If you're less than 5 points away, you always feel that on a crazy season like this, you can catch up with the other teams. But if it goes to say 7, 8, 9 points, then that's where you feel that it's a little too far. So now, obviously, moving on to Leicester City, I just want to have a quick word from Shreyas. So Shreyas, obviously you're very, very impressed with the way Leicester have played so far. So what are your thoughts on Leicester, and just a quick word on how you see their next couple of weeks going? They've got a game against Southampton and then they play Chelsea after that. So how do you see Leicester doing in the next say week or two?
Yeah, I mean, they have been slightly vulnerable at the back if you consider the previous games. But now that Soyuncu is back and the other Fofana, he's also looking good. So I think those two, they've got a good partnership, and uh, frankly, they do have a chance for competing at least at the top four. So we can't write them off by saying Spurs will. I frankly feel that it will be a toss-off between Spurs and Leicester. Whoever has lesser injuries and uh, puts the grind in out, and they might finish in the top four. Uh, that's what I feel. I mean, they do have tough fixtures, but luckily they have Chelsea coming, and this is just pray that Chelsea don't find their mojo back till that game. So Southampton, of course, it's a tricky fixture for them. We have to wait and see, but Vardy is also in a great form, so I think he'll win the Golden Boot again. That's what my feeling is, since he also take the penalties. So Leicester are an important team to watch. Is all I can say.
Yeah, I think
We can't write them off.
I agree. I think Leicester are a very solid team. But I think one small issue again for them is when the Europa League kicks off again, they also have an issue in terms of depth of squad isn't as great as some of the traditional Big Six sides. So I think that's where if they get a couple of injuries, they could be in trouble. But so far, they've had an outstanding season. For them to negotiate the Europa League as well very comfortably, and for them to be well within the top four, I think it's a great achievement by Brendan Rodgers and Leicester City. I think they deserve a lot of credit for that. Many including me, I thought they'll have a small drop off because of the European fixtures, but they've continued to maintain the consistency. And this time around, I think they'll hope that they can finally seal a top four place, because they came really close last time. They should have, in fact, gotten top four. They bottled it, you could say, in the last couple of weeks. But things are
Even that was due to injuries, right? I mean, Madison was not playing, and Ricardo Pereira was not playing.
Yeah, so
Even this thing, they had some of the injuries. They still have, and they made good. They made good signings. Stastagne and Fofana, both are brilliant. Yeah, incredible.
Yeah, so with Leicester, it's been a good season so far, and I think they'll hope that they can continue the momentum and stay within the touching distance of the top, and hopefully finish top four for them, because I think title is a little too far for them. So yeah,
Agree
in
with
terms of
Mukesh.
question, what is Leicester ceiling as a club? Can they replace Arsenal as one of the big? I think I
Definitely.
don't know if you can call them as a big six right now, because they're definitely part of the best six sides in the Premier League already right now. I think they're a better side than Arsenal for sure. I think you can call them as one of the best six sides in the league right now. There's no question about that. So I think Leicester, I don't know. I mean, consistently probably challenge for the league is probably a bridge too far for them. But at the moment, to consistently be in either Europa League or the Champions League, and hopefully push on in one of these seasons, I think that'll be their hope. If they can maintain this for the next few years, I think they'll be very happy as a club. So I think that's what they'll be aspiring to do at the moment. Right now, obviously, now we'll go to the big boys. I mean, in terms of the guys who are actually trying to hopefully win the league for each of them in their perspective. So first we start off with Liverpool because this Liverpool side, after the Spurs win, many of us expected, including me, to go on a brilliant run. I thought that the Spurs win will give them a lot of momentum and a lot of boost. And after that, they actually beat Crystal Palace 7-0. They were absolutely ruthless on the day. They didn't even start someone like Mo Salah. He came on, scored a couple of goals, and it felt like, okay, fine. The Liverpool of last season are back, and it didn't look great for some of the sides chasing them, the likes of United, City, Spurs, even. So I think after that, obviously, we know what has happened. They had three relatively, you could say, very straightforward games. West Brom at home, Newcastle away, and Southampton away. At best, you could see them drop points at Southampton before the start of this run. I personally thought the only place they could potentially drop points is Southampton away, but we all know what's transpired. They drew both against West Brom and Newcastle, and then they incredibly lost against Southampton. They've gotten only 2 points in the last 3 games, and if, of course, we'll talk about United going forward, if United win their game in hand against Burnley on Tuesday, they'll outright go top of the league by 3 points. So what do you think has really gone wrong for Liverpool in the last couple of weeks? Obviously, their defense is decimated in some ways, you could say, because they've lost pretty much every single centre-back. They're just going from a game-to-game basis at the moment. So, Sukin, starting off with you, what do you think has gone wrong for Liverpool in the next couple of weeks? And obviously, we'll not discuss with United Liverpool fixture yet. We're just waiting for that. But just the last couple of weeks, what do you think has gone wrong for Liverpool?
Yeah, so I honestly think Klopp doesn't have a plan B. So he, even in the last FA Cup against Villa under 23s, he has started Salah and Mane together. So the fact that he doesn't trust other attackers to even win against the little boys, I won't say little boys, they played actually pretty well against this Liverpool team. So the fact that he doesn't believe on this attack, so already his defense has been completely finished with the likes of VVD going out, Gomez having an injury. Even I think Matip is also now their best midfielders are playing at defense. Henderson and Fabinho are playing as centre backs for them. So, and I think he isn't making any signing. Like Klopp recently told, he isn't optimistic about a CB signing this Jan also. So the CB is the defense is completely ruined now. And Trent Alexander had a bad day during the Southampton game also. So when Trent Alexander has a bad game and the CB pairing doesn't work out, then on the day Liverpool are so vulnerable. And the fact that Klopp doesn't have a plan B without Salah or Mane, so even versus some the last CL game they played, he started Jota and then he got injured.
Midtjylland,
And then,
he got injured.
Yeah, in that game. So there's a huge chance of like if he starts playing Salah and Mane all games, so there's a chance of them getting injured or tired or to be not fit for.
They play very high intensity games, so I think to play every 3 days with that intensity is going to be really tough. Either they lose momentum. I mean, either their performance levels drop as it has in the last couple of weeks, or they'll get injured. So it's really tough for Liverpool at the moment because I think they were looking to, as we mentioned, looking to go on a positive run after that Spurs win. I think it's been a bit of a blip for them right now, but obviously we've got the huge game against United this week. Before we talk about that game, we'll first talk about United. So United had a very disappointing defeat against City. First things first, midweek. I think that's the 4th semi-final loss in a row, and I think from a United fan perspective, you'd hope that we'd do better. But I think it was not. People try to call it as a bottle. It wasn't a bottle because each one of the games had a different situation. The first semi-final against City last season, we were decimated by injuries. We did not. We basically were done at that point. It was no surprise that we lost to City in that Carabao Cup game. The semi-final against Chelsea in the FA Cup, we played a understrength team to hope to qualify for the Champions League because we had a huge Premier League game on that weekend. The Sevilla game was you could say that the defense is switched off.
No. That was bottling of epic proportions. Please.
I mean,
the other two I agree. Yes. Today, Man City. In this case, Man City was better, but Sevilla game.
In this game, City was just very good. It was a very even game. Game and fine margin. City took off again. They showed their quality, and United just couldn't break through the City defense. So I think at the moment with United, they've got. I mean, the 2 Premier League wins they got against Villa and Wolves were massive. I mean, the last minute winner from Rashford against Wolves, and then the incredible block by Eric Bailly against Aston Villa to save the 3 points in many ways. I think the team camaraderie after that Bailly block was actually, from United fan perspective, was brilliant to see, because that was when I thought that, okay, these guys actually believe that they can do something. I think that showed that, okay, there is some sort of belief whether we can go forward and hopefully challenge for the league. But I think this week's absolutely huge. I can't say how big it is. I think in the last 8 years, I think there's never been a bigger week for United in the Premier League. They've had a few other cup games which were very massive, obviously, but in the Premier League alone, there's never been a bigger opportunity and bigger pressure heading into this week. So first, I'll ask Shreyas, how big is the game against Burnley before we talk about Liverpool? So Burnley first.
Huge. Obviously, there's absolutely no question about how big the Burnley game is. I mean, I told you, right, that 2 days back, I just want to see one Manchester United on top at least once, at least in 8 years. So that's how desperate I am. And I hope that this vlog don't bottle this absolutely great chance. Because that one other thing is that you'll have that confidence, right? When you see your team on top, it automatically gives a boost to all the players that we reach there and
we belong there.
Hope to retain that spot. So that's one thing. So
and the most important thing is, after we win, if and when we win that game against Burnley, we immediately play Liverpool after that. And in some ways, I wouldn't call it as it's obviously a huge pressure game, but in some ways you can also call it as a free hit, because Anfield, no one expects us to go there and win, right? Obviously, you, as from a United fan perspective, you believe that you can get at this Liverpool side, because they're not at their very best. They've got issues in defense. They're not scoring freely at the moment. But then Liverpool are still massive favourites at Anfield. They've not lost a Premier League game there for more than 3 years. So even if for example, by chance you lose that game, you're still level with them. It's not all lost. I mean, start of the season, if you told Jan end you'll be level with Liverpool, you would have been like, wow, what is this crazy thing happening right now? But right now, we've got an opportunity to go and win and go to 6 points clear if United win that game also. So it's a case of huge opportunity. But before the Liverpool game, I cannot stress how much important it is. The Burnley game has to be a win. I don't care how we play, what we perform, whatever happens, all that matters is 3 points. So Sukin, what are your thoughts, and how do you expect the Burnley game to go? Because it won't be easy. Burnley away is always a tricky fixture. They'll play with their long balls. They'll defend with very deep block. They'll give it a proper fight for United. But how do you expect the Burnley game to go?
Yeah, so this Burnley game was supposed to be played in game week 1. So after that, it was postponed, and now, so I read somewhere that Manchester United, they requested for this game to be played before the Liverpool game. So either they can play now, or maybe after all fixtures are over. So the fact that they wanted to play this is because they wanted to say they don't want to leave this game aside. So if they don't play this,
the momentum, you want to use the momentum.
Yeah, you want to use the momentum, and also have it can give you a good view about the Premier League table also. So right now, if you win the Burnley game, then if we go, as you said, the 3 points over Liverpool, and we either it's a free hit, we win or lose. Both are it's an open chance to take Liverpool at their home.
If you beat Burnley, basically the Liverpool game, whatever happens, end of the day, it's not too bad a position to be in. You'll be in an outstanding position, or you'll still be within very, very fair distance within them. So
even Liverpool aren't at their best. They are looking a little bit sloppy. So it's a very good chance to take that game to Anfield and play against them. So before that, Burnley is a must-win fixture. Otherwise, if it is anything else other than 3 points, it's gonna be a collapse in the plans.
I think it's more due to confidence. I think if you win against Burnley, you'll have that incredible confidence, because even if you get 1 point against the draw, Burnley will still be top of the league. But I think that's
a draw or loss will be huge, a very bad impact on the team, because we already dropped out of the one cup and
if we beat 3 points, the belief.
So playing Liverpool will be a tough game if we lose against Burnley. So win is absolutely necessary, so that we have a good confidence and good boost to play against Liverpool.
Before we move on, I need to address this question. Thanks, Mukesh, for reminding this, because Maguire does the tough part in corners, winning the corner. and it
Where
just
they
bounces
actually,
off his head. I mean, if he improves, he can be an elite goal scorer. That's what my feeling. Because he almost
he's
wins
had more shots than any
most of the
defender
headers.
in the league.
Yeah, and not one on target. That's what that is very infuriating, right? I mean, if he actually makes
Even
an
in the game
effort to,
yesterday, for
yeah,
example, I was watching the game, he had an absolutely brilliant chance. He won the header. He burst through the
yeah, I
defender,
saw it, I saw it.
got that, and hit it over the bar. With Maguire, it's always happening. I mean, but he's got two good opportunities to score at Burnley. Obviously, it's not too big a game, but obviously a big game in terms of context. And I mean, if he goes and scores at Anfield, I don't want to say it right now. So, Krishna, coming over to you. Obviously, you're the neutral here in terms of discussing the United Liverpool game. So, obviously, Burnley game we've discussed a lot. It's a must-win game. United need that win to go into the Anfield game with proper confidence. So, coming over to you, how do you see the United Liverpool going from a from a neutral perspective, and what are your predictions for that game?
I think it's very important that both the first 11s are available. United's first choice 11 and the Liverpool first choice 11. Of course, Liverpool first choice 11 will not have Van Dijk and Gomez. But apart from that, I would probably like to see Thiago Alcantara in that game because that could be his first major game in the PL. We'll probably get a good chance to see his creativity against the likes of Maguire and I think Bailey should be available, right, for that game. He
Yeah.
had actually
Yeah, I
tweeted
think
that
it's
as well.
not too serious.
But
Yeah,
I think Lindelof will start, right? I mean, so
I
who do you
mean, it
think?
depends
I'd
what
probably
happens.
start Eric Bailly. I think Lindelof was
Everyone,
kind of
everyone first won't be, but it's just a question of who does all he start.
yeah, as a neutral, I want both the first 11s to be available. I don't want one person sitting out
Fair enough.
just based on now because they'll just kill the sauce in the game. So I think it's really important that the first 11 start. And going by the first 11s, I think it'll probably come down to how well the playmakers play for both teams. In that sense, we're probably lining up Bruno Fernandes against Thiago Alcantara. I think the chances that they create is probably going to be key. We have seen that Salah Mane, Firmino at the top hasn't been very effective this season. Firmino has been getting goals, don't mistake me, but it hasn't had the same amount of effect that we're used to seeing with Liverpool in the past two seasons. So I think
No, I think we
I
lost
think,
Krishna, right?
yeah. So, I mean, in terms of what you were saying, yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a fascinating game. I think again, as you said, with every big game, it's a game of fine margins. The first goal will be a key because if you score, you have the belief, and then you can take the game on from there on. But again, with United, if we win against Burnley, that's when you have genuine belief that okay, we can go to Anfield, and we've got the. You can say that some level of pressure is off. I think you can go and play freely at Anfield because the pressure will absolutely be on Liverpool because they'll be the ones 3 points behind us. So they'll be the ones who will be hoping to beat us and then get level to us. So I think we could use that on the counter attack. I mean, as many of the guys said already, their defense is looking vulnerable. They aren't scoring too many goals. So from a United fan perspective, it's looking positive at the moment. But this is a huge week. I think there is no question that this week is absolutely massive. It's not been an easy game at all against Burnley. Burnley are a really good team. So it's going to be a very tricky week, but potentially a very successful week also for United. So yeah.
And one more thing, I think we should just go for it, right? I mean, it's no point playing for a draw, sitting back at Anfield. I think they'll eventually score a goal if we try to, sit back and play on the counter. That's one good idea. But as you said, the first goal is absolutely essential in Anfield. So I think we should just go for
I
it
help there's
from
crowd.
the
There's not going to be crowd also. You will. I mean, I'm telling you, in the last 3 years, United have not had a better opportunity to go and win an Anfield. There's no crowd also. We could potentially be the ones who will be in the ascendancy in terms of the points table. The pressure will completely be on Liverpool. We will not have a better opportunity, but it's not going to be easy at all. Liverpool are still favourites in my eyes for both the title as well as the game and the individual game itself. But it's a huge opportunity for United to put down a stamp saying we are really here to fight for the league this season. And before we forget about the other team, who I believe I think they are ahead of United for sure. I think it's a close shout whether Liverpool are still favourites or City are favourites. But I think City are one of those teams who have slowly creeped up in the last couple of weeks. They're playing really good stuff, and they're looking like one of the teams who are potentially going on a good run. So coming over to City, how do you see their next two games going? They've got against Brighton and they play Crystal Palace both at home. So coming over to you, Sukin, What do you make of City in the last couple of weeks, and how do you see their next few games going?
Yeah, I think they have found their form now. Like usually they do well in their attack. Like in the last two seasons, if you take it will be David Silva, Raheem Sterling, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, who have been brilliant. Uh, this season around, you see the defense helping them out. Like with Stones finding his form, he has been absolutely brilliant this season. With the new signing, Ruben Dias, who has also been brilliant. So this CB pairing has been very critical in their success for the last 5 to 6 games, where they have had almost all points. And even the cup game against United, they were good. So yeah, City. I think yearly during the early season, we all almost ruled them out for the title. Like everyone were hopping on either Spurs or Liverpool or Chelsea, for the matter, to be winning the PL. But now Pep Guardiola showing how why he isn't to be put down, written off from the title chart. So I think they have found their form. They have found their ideal 11 also. I think someone like either Tottenham or City or Liverpool, until they face a bigger side, until they face an upset, this run will continue, and they are genuine contenders for the title. So yeah, all about it.
Yeah, I agree with your points there. I think City are really one of the teams who are slowly finding the momentum. They had a couple of dodgy results at the beginning, but I think they are really having a positive effect. Both their defense, as we mentioned earlier, Stones and Ruben Dias have been outstanding at the back, and they slowly finding a goal scoring touch. With City, you usually associate them with scoring a lot of goals under Guardiola. That's what was the problem in the initial period of the season, but slowly with some very positive performance, especially in big games like against Chelsea and United, I think they're slowly coming back to their best, and they'll definitely be one of the huge horses in the race for the title for sure. So Krishna, what do you make of City, and how do you see their next two games going?
If I'm not wrong, I think they have 2 games left in hand, and if they
They
win
have
both those
Brighton
games,
and Palace this week. Yeah.
yeah. So I think with those 2 games, if I'm not wrong, they also go, I think, 1 or 2 points clear of both United and Liverpool at
No,
the top.
they're 1 point. If United win their game in hand, they will be 1 point behind us. If they win their
Yeah,
games in hand.
yeah. So I think for City, the only question, as he said, the only problem that they faced at the start of the season was they were not getting the goals. With Pep Guardiola, you only get attacking football. But for some reason, the ball was never moving forward. Even though spaces were being created, the end product was lacking. And some of us actually attributed it to the absence of Aguero, and that City could not find a proper striker at the back, proper striker to fill in for Aguero. I think Pep is doing his best to make sure that Aguero's absence is not being felt. He's starting to play players up top. I think I can see a high line being maintained in almost all games now with City. And as Raghuveer mentioned in one of the comments, I think Stones and Diaz has been a revolutionary CB partnership this season. This has meant that their number one centre back before the start of the season, Aymeric Laporte, hasn't got enough game time. So that's the amount of quality that Stones and Diaz have brought into the team. And I think Joao Cancelo's attacking runs have also been good. He's actually given that little creativity that's I would say has been uh, has been helping them find some goals. And Joao Cancelo's contributions, if he doesn't get on the assist or score sheet, I think we do not rate his attacking contributions. I think he's making those good runs now from whatever position he's starting from, be it left back or right back. So I think it is the flexibility of Joao Cancelo that allows Pep Guardiola to play the best side that he can put forth on the day. So I think City definitely have the squad depth. They definitely have the quality players that are needed to win trophies. Pep Guardiola has already shown it for the last 2 years. I think it's only a matter of time when they start scoring goals and they start stringing together a couple of wins. I think it's already started. Their winning run has started now. The last 3 games have been really good. So I think for Manchester City, it's just a matter of time to get those goals in, and it's back to terrorizing the top 3 in the league.
Yeah, I think City are well on their way to being back at their best, and they'll hope that their positive run continues. They've got a few favorable fixtures to follow, and they'll hope that they can get maximum points. But United and Liverpool also, in the other hand, will be hoping that they can go on or continue their positive run. With Liverpool, they hope that the big game against United is what kickstarts the season once again. So it's going to be a very, very fascinating week in the Premier League ahead. So guys, if you have any comments, you can pass it on. But at the moment, it's going to be a very, very tantalizing and unpredictable week in the Premier League, as we've all seen in this season already, because so many fixtures, and there's not much time to play around with also because of the COVID crisis and all that. The season started late also, so it's going to be very fascinating viewing for whether you're neutral or you support one of the big teams who are potentially fighting for honors. I think it's going to be very interesting to see. Shreyas, any final thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, pat on the back for Sukin for sticking up with Stones. In our United podcast, the season itself, he wanted Stones as a CB, and what a season he's having, man. So he's been brilliant so far after the injury. So, and of course, Daya, excellent analysis. I too concur with you. So I think Aaron Van Bissaka has been exposed by Pep. He didn't look that good in the game. But to be fair, I expected City to win. They look really good. I was not even disappointed after the loss. The previous three semi-finals we lost. I was actually really disappointed, but City were obviously the better team today. So we tried our best and one lapse in concentration and we lost. So City are doing well. I personally think they might edge both Liverpool and United to go on and win it, and I hope that doesn't happen. Uh, that's my prediction because they have incredibly easy run of fixtures after uh, this week, so they might actually take an advantage of this position and get to the top. But let's see what happens. It's as the title says, it's a marathon. Whoever
It's just a start also. It's 20
yeah,
plus
so
games for each of the teams to go. I think at this point you can only kick yourself out of the title race against. I mean, for example, Chelsea, unless there's a miraculous turnaround, for example, they are out of the title race. So at this point, your hope is to be in and around the top of the league, and then you go on a positive run because the genuine race starts, you can say, in the last 10 games. When it's game 27, 28, that's when you feel the pressure, and that's where every single game matters. So at the moment, as the comment itself says, it's one game at a time. Each game is as crucial as the next one and the previous one. So for whether it's United, Chelsea, City, Spurs, whoever it is, I think the key is to go on a winning run. Keep trying to get as many points as you can, and hopefully come March or April, be in a position where you're within touching distance of the top or at the top also. So I think with that, we'll wrap the show, guys. Thanks a lot to Shreyas, Sukin, and Krishna for taking out time. It's been a very fascinating and fun show. I think we're all enjoying the Premier League season so far. It's been a crazy season in terms of the unpredictability, and no one really expects what could happen next, right? You can't predict what could happen next. So I think it's a very, very fun season. So thanks a lot to Sukin, Shreyas, and Krishna for joining us in today's show. So guys, as usual, please do like, share, subscribe to our channel. We've crossed 200 subscribers. Thanks a lot for your support, and please continue to support us, and we've got a lot of exciting content lined up for you guys. So please like, share, subscribe to the channel, and thanks a lot, guys.